ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुपरम्पराय नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ नमः श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। I'm sorry. Okay. So today we will start discussing on mind and intellect. So it's a very important discussion. A lot of people wants to know the function of the mind, function of the intellect. The organs or indriyas together with the mind or manas or manaha. The determinative faculty is buddhi, and egoism, ahamkara, form the group called the antahkarana or the inner instrument. They are but various processes in the mind stuff called chitta. The waves of thought in the chitta are called vritti. Actually, literally it is like whirlpool. Now the question is, what is thought or vritti? Swami Vivekananda, in his Raja Yoga book, it has been clearly mentioned that thought is a force, as is gravitation or repulsion. From the infinite storehouse of force in nature, the instrument called chitta takes hold of some, absorbs it, and sends it out as thought. Force is supplied to us through food, and out of that food, the body obtains the power of motion, etc. Others, the finer forces, it throws out in what we call thought. So we see that the mind is not intelligent, yet it appears to be intelligent. Why? Because the intelligent soul is behind it. So you are the only sentient beings mind is only the instrument through which you catch the external world. The unknowable furnishes the suggestion that gives a blow to the mind, and the mind gives out the reaction in the form of a book. In the same manner as when a stone is thrown into the water is thrown against it in the form of waves, like Newton's third law. Every action has its reaction, same and equal. So the real universe is the occasion of the reaction of the mind. So just think, the whole universe, what we perceive, is nothing but the reaction in our mind. So what Tattvabodha gives the definitions of each and every faculty of the mind. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha. Nishchayatmika buddhihi. Nishchayatmika buddhihi. Aham karta aham karaha. Aham karta aham karaha. Chintana kartri chittam. Manaso devata chandramaha. Buddhehe brahma. Ahankarasya rudraha. Chittasya vasudevaha. Chittasya vasudevaha. So, I will come in details, but just overview I'm giving. The mind is that which wavers. The intellect is the decisive faculty. The ego is the creator of the sense of I. The memory is that which makes us cogitate. The deity of the mind is the moon. That of the intellect is Brahmaji, not Brahman, Brahmaji. That of the ego is Rudra, and that of the memory is Vasudeva. We have to understand now that what is meant by the mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, etc. First of all, let us take chitta. It is the mind stuff, a part of the mahat. We discussed it in previous 2-3 classes. It is the generic name for the mind itself. So including all its various states. Now the thing is, suppose on a summer evening there is a lake, smooth and calm, without a ripple on its surface. And suppose someone throws a stone into this lake, what happens? First, there is the action. The blow given to the water makes the water rises and sends a reaction towards the stone, and that reaction takes the form of a wave. First, the water vibrates a little and immediately sends back a reaction in the form of a wave. The chitta, let us compare to this lake, and the external objects are like the stones thrown into it. As soon as it comes in contact with any external object by means of these indriyas or organs, the indriyas must be there to carry these external objects inside. There is a vibration, what is called manaha, indecisive. Next, there is a reaction, the determinative faculty, buddhi, and along with this buddhi flashes the idea of aham and the external object. Suppose there is a mosquito sitting upon my hand. You know, Kolkata is very famous for mosquito. We knew like that. When I was in Mumbai, Sandipani, it was a peaceful area, but heaven of the mosquito. Don't take it otherwise. I went various parts of the world. There also I faced the same phenomena. Mosquito, 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 mosquito. So leave it about that. Suppose there is a mosquito sitting upon my hand. This sensation is carried to my chitta and it vibrates a little. This is the psychological manaha or mind. Then there is a reaction, and immediately comes the idea that I have a mosquito on my hand and that I shall have to drive it off. Thus, these stones are thrown into the lake. But in the case of the lake, every blow that comes to it is from the external world, while in the case of the lake of the mind, the blows may either come from the external world or the internal world. This whole series is what is called the antahkarana, inner instrument. Now come into the point of deity. While discussing the sense organs, we have discussed the gods presiding over each sense organs. Vedanta says that each of the four faculties of the mind has a deity presiding over it. Since the time of the Vedas, the concept of the deities has been there. The Vedic sages adored and prayed to hundreds of gods and goddesses. However, they knew fully that these gods and goddesses were representations of that one Supreme. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, mantra number 3.9, it is mentioned very nicely, depicted very nicely, that a sage by name Vidagdha Shakalya, Vidagdha Shakalya asks Yajnavalka as to how many gods are there, and Yajnavalka answers that there are 3,333 gods are there. 3,333 gods are there. See, people say that 33 crores gods and goddesses are there in Hindu philosophy. So it actually 33 millions, you can tell, maybe 3.3 billions gods and goddesses, but it is actually not. Actually, Tetris Koti, Tetris Koti. Koti means not crores. In Sanskrit is a very beautiful language. One word represents a lot. So Koti means not millions. Koti here means the kinds, prakaram. So when Yajnavalka Rishi was asked by Vidagdha Sakalya in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that how many gods and goddesses are there, and Yajnavalka clearly told 3,333 gods and goddesses. Again and again the same question is repeated, and Yajnavalka goes on reducing the count. At last it comes to one only. Then Vidagdha Shakalya asks him to explain his reduction of the number of the gods and goddesses. Yajnavalka replies satisfactorily. He told, what are these gods? They mean certain states, certain officers or offices. For instance, Indra, the king of gods, means a certain office. Some soul which was very high has gone to fill that post in this cycle. And after this cycle, he will be born again as man or woman and come down to this earth. And the man or woman who is very good in this cycle will go and fill that post in the next cycle. So with all these gods, they are certain offices which have been filled alternately by millions and millions of the souls. who after filling those offices came down and become men and women. The Vedantic scholars have perhaps taken the idea of the gods from the Vedas. But according to the Advaitic Vedanta, the mind is ruled by Chandrama or moon. The moon, the intellect is ruled by Brahmaji. The ruler of the ego is Rudra. And that of the memory is Vasudeva. Vasudeva. So we are dependent. This is one of the important lessons from this. Though we think we can use our minds as we wish, but it is not possible to do so because there is a cosmic connection. Now, clearly we will discuss something else. So if we see the translation of this sloka, that etesham of these panchatattvanam, of these five elements, samasti sattvic angsat, the total sattvika aspect from mana, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, antakaranani, the inner instruments or antakarana of the mind, intellect, ego and memory, sambhutani are formed. Then what we call, what the text told, sankalpa vikalpatmakam, of the nature of indecision, manaha mind, nishchayatmika, the nature of decision, buddhihi, the intellect, ahamkarta, the notion of doership, ahamkaraha, ego, chintana kartri, thinking faculty, chittam, memory, manasaha means of the mind, devata, presiding deity, chandramaha, moon, buddhehe, of the intellect, brahmaji, brahma the creator, ahamkarasya, of the ego, rudraha means rudra, chittasya, of the memory, vasudeva, Vasudev Bhagavan. So what's the translation? So from the total sattvic aspect of these five elements, the inner instruments of the mind means the sattvic aspect of Maya. Okay, clear it. From the sattvic, the purest aspect of Maya, what happened? The mind, the intellect, the ego, and memory are formed. The mind is of the nature of indecision. The intellect is of the nature of decision. The ego has the notion of doership. Memory is of the nature of thinking or recollection. And the presiding deity of the mind is the moon, of the intellect Brahmaji, of the ego Rudra, and of the memory Vasudeva. Now the thing is, we will discuss little in detail. So what is mind? What is manaha? Thoughts in a state of volition constitute the mind. For example, should I attend this class, morning class, or not? should I do it tomorrow? Or if I miss the class, Swamiji will upload it in YouTube. I may watch it in YouTube. So that sort of notion comes. So such a state of vacillation continues till a decision is made. Emotions also constitute the mind. A person who is dominated by his emotions cannot make quick decisions and is often, swayed by his emotions and moods, likes and dislikes, conflicts, doubts, anxiety, all such thing, all the depression you will find of those persons who are run by their emotions, whose emotions governs that person. And moon is the presiding deity of the mind. So the phases of the moon keep changing like the mind. How the moon affects the mind can be seen in a lunatic asylum. The mental disturbance in patients is seen to increase on new moon and full moon days. In Amavasya, in Purnima days, you please watch your mind. How fickle it is. How chanchala it is. In Ekadashi day also, on the 11th day also, it is the same. So most psychosomatic diseases also become worse during that time. Now, intellect portion, buddhi, thoughts in a state of decision constitute the intellect. Reasoning, observation, conclusion, and so on are functions of the intellect. So an intellect-dominated person is called rationalist, who is intellect-dominated. So he or she can think logically and decisively. But one must be careful not to become a dry intellectual. Bereft of tenderness. It's not work, actually. There should be a balance of emotions and the rationality. The person who are totally guided by the rationalism loses its emotions for the society, for own self. So the presiding deity of the intellect is omniscient creator Brahmaji. Because for creation, anything else, to creating, knowledge is required. Without the knowledge, you can't create anything else. You can't create a house, you can create a plan, you can write a poem, you can sing, anything else. All the knowledge is required for any sorts of creation. So all knowledge and creative ideas arises in the intellect. Now ego, the most important part, ahamkara. Aham karta iti ahamkaraha. I am the doer. The thought, I am the doer, is the ego. But here, please remember, the ego does not mean always pride or arrogance. It is the sense of individuality or the notion of doership. You know, some are proud while others are not. But all have the notion of doership except Brahmagnani or realized soul. For a Brahmagnani, there is no sense of doership or enjoyership. The story of Vyasadeva and gopis and crossing over the Yamuna river we discussed in last classes. The same thing. For a realized person and the Lord has no sense of doership and enjoyership. The mind, intellect and memory means remembered thoughts, keep changing. But the ego is there with every thought. It owns them. Like, for example, I doubt, I decide, I remember, or sense of myness, my anger, my house, my wife, my children, my idea, and so on. It comes into being with each thought. The mind, intellect, and memories of each one differs. You know that. The mind, intellect, and memories varies person to person. Everyone's intellect is not same. Everyone's mind setup is not same. Everyone's memory or the past memories are not same. But the ego is the same in every being. It connects the pure self to the three bodies, causal body, subtle body, and gross body. It connects to pure self to the five seeds, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manamaya, Anand, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. And it connects to pure self to the three states, waking states, deep dream state, and deep sleep state. And the thoughts, I am fat, I am lean, I am white, I am black, and I slept well. So who is the presiding deity of this ego? Rudra. Dushta jananam rodayati yaha saha rudraha, which makes the wicked people crying is called Rudra. Rudra is the deity of ego, that sense of individuality. But remember that same Rudra is also Dakshinamurti and teaches us. Do we not suffer because of the ego? Rudra or Lord Shiva, the another form of Lord Shiva, is the Lord of destruction. If we take it in different angle, if Rudra or Lord Shiva destroy our ego, all our sufferings end. Now memory, chittam. The function of chittam is the reflection and recollection. All the experiences are stored as impressions and can be recollected like the data bank of a computer or mobile phone. We think based on this information alone about our past impressions, past memories. Vasudeva, one aspect of Bhagavan Vishnu, is the deity of the Chitta. Vishnu is said to wield the noble quality, Sattva Guna. Only when we are calm and sattvika, we can clearly reflect and easily remember facts and events. Now, see. Etesham panchatattvanam madhye Etesham panchatattvanam madhye Akashasya rajasamshat Akashasya rajasamshat Vak indriyam sambhutam Vak indriyam sambhutam Vayoho rajasamshat Prana indriyam sambhutam Vayoho rajasamshat Prana indriyam sambhutam Vannehe rajasamshat Padendriyam sambhutam Vannehe rajasamshat Padendriyam sambhutam Jalasya rajasamshat Upastha indriyam sambhutam Jalasya rajasamshat Upastha indriyam sambhutam Prithivya rajasamsat Prithivya rajasamsat Gudendriyam sambhutam Gudendriyam sambhutam. So, etesham of these, now you can think etesham samasti rajasamsat pancha pranaha sambhuta. Why Swamiji has not told? I will come at this point. So, etesham of these panchatattvanam madhye, of the five elements, akashasya of the space, rajasamshat from the rajasika aspect. I will come what is rajasika and what is all these things. Vagindriyam, organ of speech, sambhutam was formed. Vayoho of air, Rajasamsat, from the Rajasika aspect, Panindriyam, the organ of grasping, Sambhutam, was formed, Vannehe, of fire, Rajasamshat, from the Rajasika aspect, Padendriya, organ of locomotion, feet, Sambhutam, was formed. Jalasya, of the water, Rajasamsat, from the Rajasika aspect, Upastha Indriyam, the genital organs, Sambhutam, was formed. Prithivyam, of the earth, Rajasamsat, from the aspect, Rajasika aspect, Gudendriyam, anus, the organ of excretion, Sambhutam, was formed. Etesham, of these, Samashti Rajasamshat, the total Rajasic aspect, I will come afterwards. The thing is, so what happens? From these 5 basic elements of the Rajas of space, the organ of speech is born. From the dynamic quality, Rajas means the dynamic quality, okay? So from the dynamic quality or Rajas of air, the organ of clasping or grasping or hand is born. From the dynamic quality or Rajasa of fire, the organ of movement or feet is born. Of the dynamic quality of water, the organ of enjoyment is born. Upastha, or genital, is the organ of enjoyment is born. Of the dynamic quality of earth, the organ of evacuation, excretion, or anus is born. So now Rajaguna is the characterized by activity. Rajaguna is characterized by activity. So where there is activity, it is the manifestation of Rajasika aspect of Maya. The 5 organs of action or karmendriya respond to the world by activating the body, and the 5 pranas supply power to all the functions of the body and keep it alive. How? Through the physiological functions. Hence, both are the manifestations of the Rajasika aspect of the 5 elements. The unmanifest condition of the 5 elements and the 3 qualities is the causal body, Karana Sarira. The manifestation of the Sattvika and Rajasika aspect of 5 elements constitutes the total subtle body or the subtle world. Again, I am repeating. The unmanifest condition of the 5 elements of Pancha Mahabhuta or Pancha Tanmatra And the three qualities is the causal body, Karana Sharira. But the manifestation of the Sattvika and Rajasika, purest portion and calm purest portion and dynamic portion, dynamic aspect of the Pancha Mahabhuta, five elements, constitutes the total subtle body or the subtle world. So, the quality of the Rajas is dynamism, while Sattva is equilibrium, Rajas is dynamism. The third, Tamas, is inertia. Sattva, Rajatama. So Tama is inertia. Tama or Tamas are same. So all the three are essential in order to balance the organism or creation. If there was no sattva or purest form, none could control the action of the individual or the cosmos, because everything would have been chaotic. If there was no tamas or inertia, there would be chaos again. And if there was no rajas, there would be only static equilibrium. So each and everything is required, but the factor is predominance. The person is predominant by sattva, becomes rishi, sage, swami, sadhu, not swami, sadhu. Sadhu may be grihasti or sannyasi or vanaprasthi or brahmachari. Sadhu means sajjana. Sadhu doesn't mean sannyasi. So the organs of action, as their name signifies, are action prone. Hence, rajas or rajaguna of the five tanmatras have been used to make them. We follow the traditional account to say that the organs of evacuation and generation respectively are created by the rajas portion of the earth and water, and hands are formed by rajas of the air, the legs are formed by the rajas of the fire, finally speech is formed by the rajas of space. Such as a creation takes place because each organs of action has one predominant quality and thus an element in it. So if we recapitulate, we will find what is Ishvara? Ishvara means Brahma, not Brahmaji. Brahman or Brahma, the supreme reality, one reality. So Ishvara is Brahman plus avidya or Maya or Ishvara or ignorance, total ignorance. That is Ishvara or God, you can tell, according to Vedanta. So what is cosmic creation? The five subtle elements, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. How it comes? Actually, projection of consciousness enveloped by ignorance. They are nothing but the projection of consciousness enveloped by ignorance or avidya. Clear? Now the 5 gross elements, Mahabhuta, like space, air, fire, water, earth, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal and Prithvi. What are they? They are nothing but the permutation and combination of the 5 unmanifested elements. Now individual creation we will come, like 5 senses, ears, skin, eyes, tongue, smell. How it comes? From the individual sattva quality of the 5 tanmatras respectively. Okay. Now, antahkarana, you please consider the previous classes, how 5 sense organs have come out. I have discussed everything, that from the akashat, sattvangshat, what happens, vayus, everything I have discussed. The antahkarana, inner instrument, means mana or manas, buddhi, ahankara and chitta. How they come? From the collective sattva of the 5 elements of Maya. So from the collective sattva of Maya, the antahkarana are coming. Okay. Now 5 pranas, pancha prana, prana, apana, vyana, udana and samana. How it comes? From the individual rajas or dynamism of Maya. Clear? The 5 organs of action, karmendriya, vak, pani, pada, payu and upastha, organ of speech, organ of hand or legs, organ of genitals and excretion. How it comes? From the collective rajas aspect or dynamic aspect of Maya. Then the gross cosmos is Prithvi, we call. And the gross individual, this whole body, it created by food. It created by food. So, in next class, we will start discussion from prana, the last line of the sloka, etesham shamasti rajasam sat pancha prana sambhutam. That portion we will cover tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Guru Harihi Om. Hari Om to everyone else.
Hari Om Swamiji, thank you
Hari
very
Om
much.
Swamiji, thank you so much.
Hope you all enjoyed the class.
Yes.
Tomorrow we will discuss a little bit about prana.
Yes, Swamiji.
Wish you a very great day, productive day, spiritual day.
Thank you, Swamiji. And
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.